The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's the 21st of August, 2025. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, and Luke Cheney as we discuss the news of the day. This is Luke's second attempt on this show to put the smackdown on Shodell, so we'll see how that goes. But first, we got to start off on a bright note for the Matt Shodell fan club, legion of followers out there. And I'm going to talk about a story that's on the website today that Matt actually did a really nice job with. And, you look at the fact that Al Golden is no longer at Notre Dame, and they have a new defensive coordinator by the name of Chris Ash, who I'll let Matt talk about in a minute. But this is a challenge for Shannon Dawson because Notre Dame's got decent personnel on that side of the ball, and we really have no clue what they're going to do schematically on defense. I mean, you could look at what Chris Ash has done in his former jobs and obviously get some kind of idea, but you haven't seen it with this set of personnel. And, conversely, Notre Dame is going to have the same problem with the Miami defense, with Corey Heatherman coming in, because they don't know exactly what he's going to do with the set of personnel that he has this year. So this is like a little bit of a subplot that we're working with here as we count down to August 31st. So we sent Matt in the lab, which we love to do, because when he's locked behind closed doors, he can't annoy the hell out of all of us. And said, Matt, watch a lot of film, take a look at this Ash dude and see what he's all about, and then come back to us with an analysis for the fans of what exactly Carson Beck and Shannon Dawson are going to be looking at as they try to move the ball down the field against Notre Dame's defense. And today in particular, we focus on the matchup of Carson Beck versus the secondary, which returns some really good players. So, Matt, I'm going to turn the floor over to you here for a few minutes and talk to us a little bit about this analysis that's on the website today and why everybody should read it.
Yeah, well, I went and I looked for Chris Ash's the film of his defense from last year. Doesn't exist because he was last a coordinator in 2020. So I gave up and I just made a bunch of stuff up in the story.
Well, my first question, all kidding aside here, is, Notre Dame played in the national title game last year. They had the Broyles Award winner in Al Golden. And by the way, Al, some people still have an affection for Al. He was the head coach at Miami, and he's now with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Broyles Award people went into Cincinnati to give him that award and made a nice presentation. And it was really cool to see Al get that recognition. So they had this great defense last year. They make the national title game. So when they go out to hire a coordinator, I'm going to let you explain to us because I don't know. How do they settle on a guy that hasn't done it since 2020? Why did Chris Ash get the job?
That is not something I wrote about. I just looked at the dude and what he does. I don't cover Notre Dame. I don't know why they picked the guy.
Well, what is good about him?
I have a sense for what he does really well, and he was a coordinator at a high level, like I said, at Texas in 2020. So he's different than Al Golden. Like, they have the same basics, personnel type schemes, but he's not as aggressive as Al Golden. He's a lot more zone coverage, but he also takes little bits of what we saw and what we will see from last year's Miami defense and this year's Miami defense with Corey Heatherman, because he drops ends into coverage. He brings linebackers on blitzes. He does disguises coverages, disguises blitzes. His whole thing is essentially, drops linebackers in coverage, and it looks like they're blitzing. His whole thing, and I have film clips to show you, but the bottom line is he's trying to confuse the opposing quarterback, which is what every defense coordinator tries to do. Now, the problem he's going to have, and he's trying to force Carson Beck to throw every quarterback against him to throw down the field he takes away the lateral game, which Shannon Dawson loves the lateral game, especially early on, safe passes, and those are not going to work against this type of defense. So he's going to either have to attack down the field or just run the ball a lot to try and loosen things up. This is not. It's not. Oh, we're gonna. They're playing. Whatever. Like they're not playing. In other words, his defense is not going to essentially force you to do anything other than throw over the top. Okay. He's trying to take away all the short stuff, all the little gimme stuff, and it's a high risk, high reward. With that said, the problem that Notre Dame's going to have is they do not have a very good defensive line. Two of their top defensive end pass rushers are probably going to miss the game injured. The other guys on their defensive line aren't guys who would put up big numbers. I mean, I know in Notre Dame, they think they're going to be great, right? Just like at Miami, everyone's going to be great. Notre Dame's like, oh, they're great. They've done nothing. The defensive linemen have done nothing, okay, in the past. A couple of them have been injured. So, oh, well, they were hurt. They would have been amazing otherwise, whatever. The linebackers, two linebackers in the Rover are exceptionally good, and their secondary is really good. So that's sort of what we looked at. We took some clips of the guys in the secondary. We took some clips of what Ash did at Texas, just to sort of give you guys out there an idea of what Carson Beck's going to be seeing and what Shannon Dawson has to scheme up against. Okay, this is not like it's not easy for Shannon Dawson. You guys would have sensed that if you read the whole story today. It's a long story, I know, but the other thing that Shannon Dawson's going to have to do, and Carson Beck's going to have to be aware of where he is every play, is Leonard Moore. He's an All-American cornerback, was a freshman last year. I mean, the dude's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. That guy will wreck your game. And especially with Miami not having a top receiver, they may be moving that guy around. They may be trying to put him in spots where they think the ball is going to go, especially down the middle. And Carson Beck has to be very careful about that. I do think Carson Beck will have time to throw. Again, their defense line is nothing special at Notre Dame, and Miami's offensive line is special. So to me, the major mismatch in this game, especially with the good linebackers, they're going to be stacking the box, I have no doubt, to stop the run and, again, force Carson Beck to throw the ball down the field against really good cornerbacks and a lot of one-on-one coverage. The key is going to be for the receivers to beat that one-on-one coverage to anybody not named Leonard Moore. Now, the other problem is Devontae Smith is a guy they got from Alabama at nickel who's really talented and really good against the run also. So really the guy you got to attack I think they're going to really attack Christian Gray. He's a guy, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he allowed 58% completions, 6 touchdowns, like 580 yards passing against him last year. He's going to be better, right? He started last year, but he's not great. So that's the guy you attack. And I assume Shannon Dawson knows to do that. And he has to recognize whether or not they're trying to help him with a safety over the top or not. But this is such a chess match on both sides of the ball in these first games where you don't really know. So, read the story, watch the film, and you're going to see there's going to be a lot of different looks. I mean, they're going to throw a ton of stuff at Carson Beck, but Carson Beck is a veteran quarterback. When you're doing that to a guy who hasn't started before, to a guy who hasn't played much before, it's much more effective. You have to think Carson Beck should be able to diagnose a lot of this stuff fairly quickly. The problem is Carson Beck loves studying film. Does he study last year's Notre Dame film? Does he study the 2020 Texas film? I'm sure he's done both. But you don't quite know how that 2020 Texas film is going to translate to new personnel. You don't know what Chris Ash has learned being in the NFL the last 3 years. What's he changed in his defensive playbook? That's the disadvantage of playing against a new coordinator in the first game. You can say, oh, well, his defense doesn't really know him. That's our advantage. In this case, I actually think it's a little more of a disadvantage because the guy he wasn't a coordinator last year. Miami really is going to be flying blind a little bit when Miami has the ball on offense, trying to figure out what's different than what they saw on film from Notre Dame last year with Al Golden. Clearly, that'll be a lot different. And then from 2020 Texas to now, the things that he's added and changed for his current personnel that he learned in the NFL, that he's taking away for a new playbook on defense, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens on August 31st when Carson Beck drops back to throw the ball.
Well, if you're right, I'll throw another little wrinkle into this conversation. And, if they're challenging Miami to throw the ball down the field and they've got good defensive backs, which we know they have, how about all these young receivers rolling out there for the first time as Miami Hurricanes? And their ability to get open, against these quality defensive backs. And, I don't know if they play a lot of press coverage or not, but, it's a whole different deal than when you're, running 7-on-7 drills out on Greetree and you're doing well. This is going to be real mano-a-mano combat on a college football field. How's Malachi Toney going to handle that? How's Josh Moore going to handle that? We don't know. What's CJ Daniels gonna be able to get done? Marion, Tony Johnson, it's complete unknown. JoJo Trader. I mean, the JoJo Trader resume is a catch in the bowl game for the most part. I mean, what's he going to be able to get done out there, on August 31st? So I am expecting a very hard fought defensive struggle in this game. I really am. We've been talking about the over under. I don't want to tell people go pound the under, because then if I'm wrong, everyone's going to be, really mad at me or whatever. But I have a hard time seeing either one of these offenses busting out in this game. And, Miami's going to load up and stop the Notre Dame running game. That's an obvious thing to do. You got a first-time quarterback coming out there. If you can make them have to rely on him, you're in a pretty good place in this football game. But and you never know, but I just don't see a ton of points being scored in this game on the 31st.
I got your Christian Gray numbers. I mean, he's the guy to attack for sure. He allowed 40 of 68 catches for 583 yards and 4 touchdowns, and was called for 6 penalties. That's the guy you attack, clearly, because they have an All-American at the other spot, and Devontae Smith from Alabama is a really good nickel. I think he played only played 400 reps last year, but he was really good in those reps. Last year he was targeted 29 times, 19 catches for just 123 yards and no touchdowns against at Alabama. So with 5 pass breakups and 420 reps. Devontae Smith's good. There is a weakness, and they got to pound that guy. I mean, just keep going at him, and they should have some success. If they do that, it's just gonna be tough going against the other guys. And I think the tight ends will be very involved in the passing game, and the running backs will have to be very involved in the passing game, because when you have a really good secondary, you've got to find other ways to get other people the ball, because they're going to take away probably 2 of your receivers. Your slot's going to have a tough time potentially, and so is one of your outside receivers, even one-on-one. So
probably the best secondary Miami is going to play this year.
Yeah.
So, Carson Beck's going to really have to be on point. Matt uses the term in the story that he has to put those 12 interceptions from last season to bed. That's an understatement.
12 interceptions and 8 fumbles. Yeah, he's got to protect the ball, period. You can't have 20. You can't have 20 turnover opportunities in 12, 13 games. I mean, that's not going to do it. You're going to lose a couple of games.
I mean, Georgia survived it because Georgia was one of the top couple teams in the country. Miami probably not quite there yet. So they need Carson Beck at an absolute elite level. So anyway, make sure you check out that story on the website today. Now, Notre Dame has named CJ Carr as their starting quarterback. So Luke, this is your moment. I'm coming to you. You wrote about the Notre Dame quarterbacks a few days ago, so you've got a little bit of knowledge on CJ Carr. Were you surprised by this decision, and what challenges the CJ Carr mount for the Miami defense?
Yeah, a little bit, honestly. I mean, coming into this, to fall camp and throughout this offseason, it seemed like CJ Carr, would be the guy. He seemed to have the lead coming out of spring, but this fall, Kenny Minchie, who was the other guy in this position battle, he seemed to kind of have the edge, although it was very close throughout the fall camp, throughout the couple of scrimmages that Notre Dame had. But then on Sunday, Monday, now they announced CJ Carr as the starter. And listen, with Carr, former top 70 recruit, big arm, physically has the type of frame you want in a quarterback. Just because he's only logged 4 career college snaps, mind you, and he didn't he just handed the ball off in those snaps. So really no college film to, judge his game off of. I watched some of the blue gold spring game that Notre Dame held, and Carr looked pretty good. Good downfield ball placement, made a couple of really impressive throws. But listen, going at Miami first game, it's going to be a very hostile environment. That's a tough game for him to debut. Another thing about Carr that I've seen a lot of, and I mentioned this in the message board today. I feel like a lot of people are calling him this like pocket pass. He is a pocket passer. I want to get that clear, but I think people are kind of portraying him as this sort of statue that he's just gonna, be a cone in the pocket, and Bain and Mesidor are gonna have what they want on passing downs and such. When that's not really the case. I mean, Carr is a pocket passing quarterback. He's not this electric athlete, but he can run. He is mobile. He will extend plays outside the pocket. He actually did run for more rushing yards in high school than Kenny Minchie, the dual threat, competitor in this quarterback race, ran for.
I didn't know that.
So it's one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, he's a talented quarterback. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a very, very hostile environment. As I said, it's not going to be easy. Miami secondary is significantly better, especially on paper, but they're significantly better than they were a year ago. So we'll see, but it did surprise me a bit. And I think Miami, I think Carr will have a good season, but first game, we'll see what happens.
So what's your prediction, Luke? Is the headline the day after the game, Carr wrecked, or Carr runs over Miami? What's your prediction? Which is the headline? What's your prediction?
I don't think Carr will have a bad game. I don't think he'll dominate. I think he will be a game manager. I don't think that Notre Dame will try to unleash him. I think he'll have a very conservative stat line, probably pass the ball 20, 25 times, really kind of lean on that run game. Probably take a couple shots against Miami secondary, but I don't think he'll have this like crazy breakout performance that we've just seen so many random quarterbacks have against Miami in years past. I don't think you'll have all that.
Here's my prediction. Whichever offense realizes early enough that they have to pass the ball over the top wins the game, because they both have the same offense. Like, they're both these really good offensive lines, really great running backs. They know what they have at both those spots, and neither team for sure knows what they have. One at receiver with Miami and one at quarterback with Notre Dame. And it's clear to me, being the idiot that I am, that both defenses are going to do everything there is that has been since the 19th century, 18th century, whenever when Gary was born in 1837, whenever football started. However you stop the run, they will be doing everything in their power to stop the run on both sides of the ball, which to me, just having watched football for 85 years less than Gary, but still, 50 years of my life. Generally, if you keep trying to run the ball against a defense that's good and trying to stop the run, at some point, if you don't start throwing the ball successfully, you're going to lose the game. And the later the game goes that you don't grasp that concept and embrace that concept, even not knowing, the higher the likelihood is that Carr will be wrecked.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think it's more likely that the Carr gets wrecked than whatever the other headline you came up with that was supposed to be good.
Carr runs over Miami.
Yeah, I don't know that I see that either. If you're Notre Dame, the best thing that you could do in this game is get the damn thing in the mud, because you are going to be in a ridiculous atmosphere. And if you can make it boring and get the game in the mud, you're going to be able to somewhat mitigate the Miami huge advantage.
That's right. If they can run the ball, even though Miami's trying to stop the run, if they can still run the ball, then forget it. Then it's over. I mean, if Miami can't stop the run when they're trying to stop the run with everybody they have and everything they have, then this season's already over to me. I mean,
I think Miami will load up and they'll stop the run.
They have to.
But the thing is, like, if you're Notre Dame, you want a defensive struggle. I mean, you want a tight game that's within one score going into the fourth quarter, because that's going to bore the crap out of the crowd in Hard Rock Stadium. I mean, the Miami fans showing up all amped up, man. Like they're going to be ready to go at 8:00 on August 31st, and they want something to scream about. And if you're getting 3-yard runs, 4-yard runs,
the short passing game, the quick passing game, I can see that happening easy.
Punt, play defense,
right? And
Carson Beck's receivers can't get on track. Miami's got to go station to station, and getting stopped on 3rd down and having a punt, and then same thing the other way. If you can make the game boring as hell and get it into the mud, that's Notre Dame's best shot at winning, I think. So this is a big Shannon Dawson game. It really, really is. I mean, he's going to have to figure out what'll work against Chris Ash, and that's why we took the time to put Matt in the lab to kind of start breaking this down a little bit. And I'm sure we'll have more of this as we move forward here over the next week and a half and get ready for the game. But it's an intriguing, from a schematics standpoint, this is an intriguing game and an intriguing matchup. And I just hope it finds a way to be exciting, because this is a rare treat to get Notre Dame coming into Hard Rock Stadium. We're used to FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, we got Notre frickin' Dame. Wait, maybe I should leave the frickin' out. I don't want to get myself in trouble with anybody out there in Fighting Irish land. But you got Notre Dame coming into Hard Rock Stadium. It does not get better than this to start off a season, and I know how much it means to the Miami fans, and I just hope it's an exciting game. And of course, Miami needs to win it. I mean, that's another thing that we've been talking about, and we talked about it on the last show. We won't do it on this show, but Miami needs to win this game, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. All right. So once we sent the CaneSport housekeepers into the lab to sanitize the place after Matt Shodell spent 8 hours in there, I said, Luke, it's your 3rd week at CaneSport, and it's time to challenge you. Okay. You've worked with Stephen Wagner for 3 weeks too. You're trying to grow his mustache. We see it. We see it there. We see it's, you're trying to bring it in. Okay. But it's time to challenge you. And so we sanitized the place, and we sent Luke into the lab, and we said, Luke, take a look at all of the quarterbacks that Miami is going to play this year, and give us your ranking of the quarterbacks. Show us your football acumen. Go get into the nitty gritty and tell us who are the best quarterbacks that Miami is going to play this year, and rank them from 1 to 12. And so Luke goes in there, and he did. And I'm expecting him to come out yelling and screaming about how great DJ Lagway is, because that's all anybody around college football does. We keep hearing, DJ Lagway. He's going to be so damn great. The Gators are going to win 10 games this year. Yeah, okay. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I'm expecting him to come out waving DJ Lagway pom-poms, but no, that's not what happened. Luke comes out, and he says, Kevin Jennings of SMU is going to be the best quarterback that Miami faces this year. And DJ Lagway, I'll give him his props. He's going to be number 2. Luke, explain yourself.
So to provide some context on that, I think there's a very high likelihood that by the end of the year I'm going to start waving my Lagway pom poms.
No.
I think he's probably going to end up being the best quarterback that Miami will face by the end of the year, as far as, if we're looking back at this. But as of right now, I think I tried to balance production and potential with this list, right? And if you look at Lagway last year, and the stats don't tell the whole story, 12 touchdowns, 9 picks, made his freshman mistakes, made a lot of big time throws, which is why everyone is so high on him, coming into the year. But he wasn't fantastic. You see Kevin Jennings, and I don't think Kevin Jennings has the ceiling that Lagway has, but he leads SMU to the college football playoffs. He leads them to, 10, 11 wins, and just the command he had on that offense, the ability with his legs, I just was so impressed by him last year. And I think first, I don't know why, but I feel like people aren't talking enough about him. I mean, didn't even enter last year as a starter. Mind you,
Plays for SMU.
he was the back. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, he was the back of the Preston Stone. I mean, this is his first full off season getting first team reps, right? So I think he'll have another great year. And yeah, I mean, I think Miami's going to end up playing a lot of really good quarterbacks this year. I think if 10 through 1 of my rankings, like those are all guys who I think could give any team trouble. I mean, there's a couple sleepers in there. Like at 9, I put Kyron Drones out of Virginia Tech. He gave Miami some trouble last year, very mobile, had a down year, injury struggles, stuff like that. But if he's healthy and he's at his best, he's, a fantastic player. So yeah, I mean, this schedule, the way it plays out and the quarterbacks that they'll face, it'll be a good measuring stick and it'll be a good test for the secondary because the secondary will be tested against some really good quarterbacks. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Jennings is 16th in the Heisman voting. Guess who else is 16th in Heisman voting? Jennings. Lagway's 9th, and Carson Beck's actually moved up to 6th. But guess who else is 16th, tied with Jennings?
Is it someone else on the ranking list?
Yeah. CJ Carr overnight is now tied with Jennings.
No,
really?
I was gonna guess.
Wow.
Tommy Castellanos.
No. Nope.
Well, CJ Carr's 8th on Luke's list.
Yeah. I mean, Carr could end up. I mean, he just hasn't played yet, so I was like, yeah, eight seems reasonable. That's surprising.
But this is going to be. I was just going to say, this is going to be intriguing.
That's on FanDuel, by the way, but yeah.
Okay.
This is going to be an intriguing season from the quarterback standpoint because the ACC feels like it is the league for quarterbacks. Okay, and you wouldn't even think about this, but number 3 on Luke's list is Louisville quarterback Miller Moss, a transfer from USC that you put him in the Jeff Brom offense with Jeff Brom calling the plays, and maybe Luke's right. Maybe he does have a huge season this year for Louisville. You got a South Florida native, CJ Bailey. Luke kind of surprised me with this one. We made him number 4 on the list. Pitt's got Eli Holstein. USF, you wouldn't think about this, but they have Byron Brown, who people were really very high on last year, and he got hurt, but now he's healthy again. FSU's got Tommy Castellanos from Boston College. We've mentioned, people are predicting great things for Carr. You got Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech, who, like Luke said, has the capability to be a really great player. You got Syracuse with a new quarterback, but he'll have some experience before Miami faces him. Steve Angeli, he was once a backup at Notre Dame. Now he's at Syracuse to be the lead player there. We'll see what he ends up doing. Stanford always seems to have a quarterback. This year they got a kid named Ben Gulbranson, but he's been up and down in his early playing time days, and so we'll see what happens there. So the point I'm making is that there's some really good quarterbacks, Luke, and the Miami defense is going to be challenged on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, and if Miami makes ACC championship, will probably be against Clemson, who has Cade Klubnik, who a lot of people are saying is the best returning quarterback in college football. So I mean, the conference was loaded with quarterbacks last year, still is this year. I've seen a lot of rankings that have Georgia Tech's Haynes King is the second or third best quarterback in the conference, who Miami's not going to play this year. So yeah, it's a very talented conference when it comes to quarterbacks, and Miami's going to face off against a lot of them. And I mean, even a guy like Angeli at 10. I mean, he looked really solid in the Sugar Bowl last year against Penn State, or I think it was the Sugar Bowl. And limited playing time as Notre Dame's backup. So even a guy who I have really low could step into a very QB friendly offense in Syracuse and deliver. So. They're going to play against some pretty good quarterbacks.
All right, we got a few other things we want to talk about on today's show, but I'm going to take a moment here to tell you guys about a clothing company that has put a special deal on the table here for Hurricane fans. And I know this is the time of year where everyone is in shopping mode for the clothes that they're going to wear throughout the season, not just to the games, because, it's an orange out, for example, for the Notre Dame game. And, you're going to want to go to CaneSwear probably and get yourself some orange gear. CaneSwear, big supporter of CaneSport.com. Once again, a sponsor on our site and on our shows this year. Going to be the sponsor of the Lamar Thomas Show once again. So go on over to CaneSwear and load up on all your Hurricane gear. But I'm also going to tell you about this company, Roback, which has created some new, stuff. It's more like sporting wear, leisure wear type of stuff that you guys might want to check out. It's expensive, but they will give you a 20% off as a CaneSport subscriber. So I'm going to tell you about it. There's only one way to describe Roback, and that would be best fit, best feel. If you're not familiar with them, they feel like they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. And it is comfortable, okay? They sent me a few things, and the material is really, really amazing. It's a nice, soft material that I think you guys will like. And they've released a bunch of items in what they're calling their new game day collection. And they've got polo designs. They got a clean hoodie, Q-zip designs. It's definitely worth checking out and seeing if you like any of it. There's nobody else on the market that's pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of material and activewear. So check out the Miami Game Day collection at roback.com. I'm gonna spell it for you, okay? Because it's not something you're gonna be necessarily familiar with. It's RHOBACK, Roback, RHOBACK. You got that, Matt Shodell? RHOBACK. Use the code MIA20. It's not missing in action. It stands for Miami. MIA20, and they will give you 20% off your order. Now, I told you it's high quality stuff, and they charge high quality prices. But if you like it, maybe 20% off helps you check it out. So roback.com, RHOBACK, and the code MIA20, and you get 20% off on anything that you find on their website. But for all your staples, obviously, CaneSwear and CaneSwear.com is your place to go for all your Miami Hurricane specific needs, much more than just activewear. They got polos and t-shirts and kids' clothes and stuff for your wife or girlfriend, and pretty much anything that has a U logo on it, you could find at CaneSwear. So there you go. There's some shopping tips for you with the season approaching, and we'll be talking a lot more about these guys in the coming days. But I wanted to get back to another story real quick that Matt did, and why the Hurricanes' offensive line holds the key to beating Notre Dame. And not a great revelation, not the most amazing subject that Matt Shodell has ever written about. But if you factor in every single thing that we've said already on this show, and if the game really is in the mud, like I think it has a great chance of being, the Miami offensive line could be the differentiator in this game. Miami believes it has, if not the best offensive line in the country, certainly one of the best few. We're going to find out pretty quick whether that's reality or not. But Matt, talk a little bit about why you feel that the Miami offensive line performance in this season opener is so critical.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly did not read my story, because it wasn't really about the offensive line. It's more about Carson Beck, because last year Carson Beck, when he was kept clean in the pocket,
that's the offensive line. Jeez.
He had an elite 90.9 passing grade, and when he was under pressure, he had a ridiculously bad 30.6 grade. Okay, so yeah, you gotta. The offensive line has to give him time to find his receivers, especially because it's not like last year where Restrepo got open so quickly. You don't know if Malachi Tony or Tony Johnson or whoever they put in the slot, Ray Joseph, how that's going to go, right? You sort of knew what you had with Xavier. He was a 2-time 1,000-yard receiver, so last year going into the year, you already knew he was a 1,000-yard receiver. There's a lot of unknowns in general with the receiving game. So that's really why the pressure is on the offensive line more than anything else. Like, it seems obvious the offensive line has to do well because they can run the ball that way, and take the pressure off Carson Beck. That wasn't really my point of the story. My point is the dichotomy. You can look it up, Gary. Luke knows what it means. The dichotomy between the quarterback under pressure and the quarterback not under pressure is so vast that if Notre Dame's getting pressure, Carson showed last year, he struggles. He makes bad decisions. He had 5 interceptions just in those. It wasn't all the time that he was being pressured, obviously, right? So yeah, that's a massive, massive, massive key, and that's honestly the good news for Miami. And like I said earlier in the show, I know I'm Mr. Negative, but that's where Miami has its big advantage. I don't think the Notre Dame defensive line is anywhere near as good as it was a year ago when it was pretty dominant. They lost guys. They have 2 of their top pass rushers out, expected to be out for the game. And they're relying on a couple of guys who I think they both missed 5 games last year injured, to sort of step up and be the answer or help be the answer on the defensive line, which I think they're going to plan to have a heavy rotation up front for Notre Dame, which, like at receiver for Miami, when you have a heavy rotation on defensive line, it probably means there's not a Ruben Bain out there where you got to keep him on the field constantly, or as much as he can play, give him an IV at halftime, the whole thing,
Maybe that's why Al Golden went back to the NFL.
Yeah, right. He knew what was coming.
He's like, I'm not letting this Miami offensive line come in here and smack my defense around. I'm out of here.
So that's the other aspect of it. Is that really is the major, if you look at both sides of the ball, where does Miami have its major advantages? That's the most major advantage I think Miami has is their offensive line against Notre Dame's defensive line. And they have to take advantage of that.
All right. Miami got a commitment. I guess it would be the night before last. And he's a 20 to 27 kid out of Cardinal Gibbons, DeMarcus DeRoche. And not a guy that, right now the focus is on 2026 recruiting. So people haven't really sunk their teeth into 2027 yet. And I don't know how many people out there were like, oh my God, Miami's got to get DeMarcus DeRoche. But this is a kid that came to the Miami camps and showed out and showed his potential, showed his athleticism, and they gave him an offer at the Mario Cristobal camp this summer. And now he has decided early that he wants to be a Miami Hurricane. Luke, we sent you out to talk to his coach, Coach Dubuque over there at Cardinal Gibbons. And you came back with some pretty glowing praise here for DeRoche.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kid that I think a lot of Miami fans really didn't know much about before his commitment. And, what the Hurricanes are getting and what Coach Dubuque told me was, hey, I mean, he's just a Swiss Army knife, right? Like, and it's just littered throughout his, film last year at Boyd Anderson. You can line him out wide in the slot as a tight end. And that's just on offense. I even saw some stuff with him as a Wildcat quarterback. Defensively, sorry, there's a little bit of a vacuum behind me, so I apologize for that. Defensively, he's, which I'll talk about in a minute. I think that's kind of where he's going to end up. Speed rusher off the edge, really fast, can drop back in coverage because he has that fluidity. Star in the basketball court as well, which is kind of, I always like when, football prospects play other sports. Basketball being a great one for that. Also runs track as well, runs a 200-meter. And, yeah, the coach just spoke very glowingly about his versatility, his work ethic, of course. So he's a very coachable kid. And, how he projects to the college level, we'll see. I mean, I think, we have him, or on 3 has him listed as a receiver. Could end up a receiver, could end up as a tight end. I think just because, he's going to put on more weight, he's going to add more muscle to his frame. I think he'll probably end up as an edge if I were to, place a guess. But who knows, right? I mean, a lot of high school kids, they want the ball in their hands. We see all the time with these, wide receiver, defensive back athletes. More often than not, they end up playing on the offensive side of the ball just because, like I said, they want the ball in their hands. So we'll see how he, fits in at the college level. But what Miami's getting is just an absolute freak athlete, just a really good and really talented football player that they can, mold and sculpt into the specific, type of athlete that they need, wherever that might be on their team.
All right, now
All
it's
right, so
time.
we have
Now it's time. Oh, go ahead, Gary. I hate
No,
to
go ahead,
interrupt you.
Matt.
It's time. It's time for our new feature, the Matt Shodell Trivia Question of the Day, short for Mr. Quada. Mitisquida. It's time for the Mitisquida. All right, are you ready? DeRoche is a French surname, and no cheating. What does it mean? Does it mean from the flowers, from the rock, from outer space, or from Gary Ferman's basement? What does DeRoche mean, Luke Cheney?
Luke, you got this one, man. You're just that you just graduated from college, so you got the best shot of knowing the answer to this one.
I mean, this was just a core, principle in that Miami curriculum.
Or all the above. All of the above.
As much as it could be the last one, I'm gonna have to say what'd you say? The flowers.
From the flowers.
That sounds the most kind of
You're locking it in. All right, you owe me $100. We are keeping track. I've got to tell you, it's $100. Yeah, $100. We get it wrong. That's your punishment. No, it does not mean from the flowers. He's a football player, Luke. Okay, they don't come from the flowers. They come from the rock. What's the matter with you?
He's fluid though. He's fluid
the rock. And apparently, though, it has nothing to do with him being chiseled. It has to do with apparently generations ago his family lived on a cliff. That's according to AI. So, and that's our Mushwakada of the day. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Have a great day. Really enjoy
right
your
now,
day, everybody.
Right now, Luke's saying, "What the hell did I get myself into here, taking this job?" But anyway, so we've got multiple stories on DeRoche on the website. You can check it out and get to know Miami's latest commitment really, really well.
Well, I'm The Rock. We have a new The Rock at Miami. Nobody's excited. The Rock is coming back to Miami and nobody cares. What is wrong with you?
All right. So while Luke is sitting here having fun with us, we've had Stephen Wagner working hard, and this weekend is the Broward County High School National Football Showcase, which could be the most loaded showcase in many years here in South Florida, and so we break down the Miami targets that fans should keep an eye on this weekend at the Broward Showcase. Make sure you check that out. We've got a story on IMG Academy 2027 top 30 receiver Osani Gales. He's locked in a visit to Miami for the Notre Dame game. So to see what he's saying as he prepares to make that trip to Hard Rock Stadium. And then we also have a story with Fontana, California, Bishop Montgomery defensive lineman George Toya. He is a top 50 prospect. The Canes are chasing after him. You can check out what he has to say on the website today as well. Most importantly, if you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please, it is football season now. We have got you covered to the max. I've lost count of how many stories we've posted the last 3 weeks on training camp, but it's an enormous amount. We've got all this recruiting coverage for you and everything. Everything that's coming out of the lab these days. So there's something for everybody at CaneSport.com, and your subscriptions are what allow us to do what we do every single day, including dealing with Matt on this show. Your subscriptions are responsible for that, I swear. So if you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport, please head on over to the website, CaneSport.com. The information's been at the bottom of your screen throughout this entire show. Join our great community of fans. They have a phenomenal time every day on the message boards. And like I said, our staff, we're grinding it out every single day to make you guys the most informed Miami Hurricanes fans, the most informed fans of any team in America. That's our goal for our subscribers to CaneSport.com.
By the way, there's also a trivia question for the fans. If we can get 10 or more people to just post in the YouTube responses today, this morning, today, whatever, I would prefer to have Luke Cheney on the Good Morning Show than Matt Shodell. I will be removed. I will be removed. It will be your dream, people. So please, just need 10 of you. You could even create, one of you could create 10 different usernames. It doesn't matter. Get the job done. I'm counting on you people out there that hate me. Match Shodell haters need to come out
Nobody
today.
hates you, Matt. They love you. They love you. I don't understand.
We're gonna
it, but
find
they
out.
love
There's
you.
gonna be 100. Get rid of Shodell. Bring in Luke. You watch.
They have
The
a
only
love-hate
reason it won't be is
relationship
because nobody
with you.
watches the damn show past the first 5 minutes. So, minute 40 or whatever, 45, 50, no one's paying attention anymore.
All right. So for Luke Cheney and Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you again for joining us this morning, and we'll see you next time, everybody.